momentarily disjointed.
But I have to ask, is there a risk that opening with a life-or-death Daredevil scenario actually undermines the author's main point about Ford desperately wanting to make aviation feel as safe and mundane as a train ride?
I completely buy that concern, but it actually points us right to the solution. The author can easily bridge this gap by explicitly using that extreme expedition as the ultimate proof of concept for Ford's commercial marketing strategy.
Oh, I see. So instead of ending the bird section with, like, he accomplished his goal, and jumping straight to the headlines, you tie it together.
Yes, you use the trimotor's survival in those sub-zero high-altitude conditions as the very reason the everyday passenger felt safe.
That makes a lot of sense. You frame Bird's flight not just as an exploration milestone, but as the calculated PR victory that allowed Ford to successfully pitch his safest airliner around campaign to an otherwise skeptical public.
Spot on, which naturally brings us to completeness and focus, looking at the corporate friction. Moving from how the story is framed to the human elements driving the history forward, the piece introduces a fascinating clash of personalities that really deserves more spotlight.
Oh, definitely. The drama behind the scenes is wild.
It is. The friction between William Stout from visionary engineering and Henry Ford's ruthless industrial standards offers a rich source of narrative tension that is currently underdeveloped.
Because the manuscript introduces these incredible high-stakes moments, right? Like Stout sending out those brazen $1,000 fundraising letters promising absolutely no returns.
Yeah, and the totally failed 3AT test flight, and Ford getting so angry he banishes Stout from the design room. But the weakness here is that it resolves these conflicts almost instantly in order to list safety statistics and famous passengers.
Which completely deflates the dramatic momentum. You know, it feels a bit like we're watching the trailer for a great corporate thriller like Ford v. Ferrari, but Ford v. Stout. And right at the climax, we're handed a glossy brochure for the airline instead.
That is the perfect analogy. So for a suggestion, the author really needs to lean into this corporate drama to drive the middle section of the piece. Show the reader exactly how the trimotor evolved out of failure rather than just stating that it did.
Like with William Mayo taking over?
Exactly. Expand that crucial turning point where propulsion engineer William Mayo takes over from the exiled Stout. Detail how Mayo transformed the aerodynamic absurdity of the 3AT into the successful 4AT.
Got it. And I feel like they could weave the Junkers patent infringement lawsuit earlier into this design section, too.
Oh, absolutely. Bringing that up highlights that this state-of-the-art corrugated duralumin design was highly contested from the very beginning. It adds so much flavor.
Right. So, following those boardroom battles that birthed the aircraft, the focus obviously has to shift to the resulting product and the visceral reality of what it was actually like to step aboard.
Yes, moving to tone and style, specifically the experiential paradox. The portrayal of the passenger experience relies too heavily on pricing and logistics, missing a prime opportunity to exploit the vivid contrast between Ford's luxury marketing and the harsh reality of early flight.
Because the draft mentions some truly fascinating details.
It really does. The fold-down sink toilet, the wicker seats, flight attendants literally passing out cotton for the deafening engine noise.
But they're just, like, scattered all over the place across different paragraphs.
Exactly. And that dilutes the jarring paradox of 1920s air travel.
Although I do want to push back on the current focus for a second. If the material spends too much time highlighting that a cow or Franklin D. Roosevelt flew on the plane, do we risk losing the visceral sensory reality of what an everyday passenger actually endured on a cross-country trip?
We absolutely do. That's a great point. So the suggestion for improvement here is to consolidate these specific sensory details into a singular immersive scene that sharply contrasts the exorbitant financial cost with the physical discomfort of the journey.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so you juxtapose the staggering $352 ticket price, which, by the way, could buy a new automobile at the time, with the reality of sitting in a wicker chair.
Right, just vibrating intensely in an uninsulated, freezing cabin, completely unable to hear the person next to you over the roar of three 200-horsepower radial engines.
That sounds miserable.
It was. Frame that grueling 2-day transcontinental journey where they were switching between trains at night and loud, dragging aircraft by day as an endurance test masquerading as luxury convenience.
That is such a powerful image. Well, to quickly recap, to elevate this piece, the focus really should be on anchoring the opening polar adventure directly to the industrial safety thesis.
Yup, and deepening the corporate friction between Ford and Stout, plus consolidating those sensory details to emphasize the paradox of early luxury flight.
Right, so your actionable summary is to explicitly connect Bird's expedition to Ford's safety PR, expand the engineering handover from Stout to Mayo to highlight the trial and error process,
And build a dedicated paragraph contrasting the high-ticket costs with the loud, vibrating cotton-in-the-ears reality of the cabin.
spot on. We invite the listener to implement these structural edits and submit the revised manuscript back to the critique for another round of feedback. Keep up the great work.